On the day my elder sister, Imperial concubine Madison Johnson, returned home for her family visit, my stepmother Ivy Peters was caught committing adultery with a guest scholar. Enraged, my father John Wilson ordered Ivy beaten to death on the spot. He cursed me as a bastard born of a whore, threatening to enslave and banish me from the Wilson estate. Fortunately, the matriarch Emily Johnson took pity and raised me as her own. She personally oversaw my upbringing, only to poison my voice upon my 15th birthday. I was sent to the palace as the lowest-ranking maid-serving concubine Madison. At night, I was forced to service the aging emperor in her quest for favor. By day, I hid in dark corners like a wounded animal. A year later, I bore a son who became Madison's ultimate bargaining chip for the empress position. Once she achieved her goal, Madison had me dismembered and tossed into the moat. Chapter 1. I opened my eyes to find myself back on the day of Madison's homecoming. Emily smiled warmly, offering a plate of pastries. "Share these with your mother," she said. I accepted them cheerfully, though my eyes turned icy as I turned away. Today would mark the final separation of this mother and daughter. I skipped back to the rear courtyard with the treats, my heart heavy with grief. To prevent history from repeating, I lied to Ivy. "The matriarch needs your help preparing the banquet in the kitchen." Without suspicion, she hurried off. The moment she left, movement stirred by the wall. Kevin Brooks appeared, the same man who'd framed my mother for adultery in our past life. Last time, the drugged pastries left Ivy helpless when he assaulted her. I tried to intervene but was kicked unconscious. By dawn, my mother lay bloodied and breathless, while Kevin still swore she'd seduced him. Father executed them both in his fury. Now facing Kevin, I swallowed my hatred and curtsied. "Please wait here, sir. The lady will join you shortly after changing." Kevin, father's cousin despite being only a year younger, remained unemployed at nearly 40, leeching off family funds. Emily knew his lustful nature and lured him here using Ivy's name. Mistaking me for a household servant, he sprawled in a chair and devoured 3 pastries. When impatience gripped him, I feigned forgetfulness. "My mistake, the lady awaits you in the guest house." Cursing my stupidity, he demanded I lead him immediately. Amid the commotion of Madison's arrival, I guided him through deserted paths to Emily's window. The aphrodisiac took full effect as he climbed through the casement. A crash echoed, followed by Emily's muffled scream, exactly as planned. With most servants diverted for the imperial reception, only an elderly housekeeper remained nearby. She too abandoned her post when distant cheers announced Madison's entrance. I released a serpent from my sleeve into the half-open window before blending into the crowd rushing to the main courtyard. Father grew visibly irritated by Emily's absence during the ceremonial greetings. Madison immediately noticed her mother's missing presence. "Mother wished to make our home worthy of your grace's splendor," Father lied smoothly. "She's likely perfecting her attire to honor you properly." Madison's gaze sharpened, but the excuse held. Meanwhile, venomous fangs found their mark in a shadowed bedchamber, justice served through nature's executioner. Imperial concubine Madison Johnson had long anticipated that Emily would seize today's opportunity to eliminate my step-mother Ivy. Naturally, she showed no visible objection. After arrogantly scanning the crowd, Madison took the lead in seating herself at the main hall. Relatives from the Wilson estate gathered to flatter Madison, whose smug expression remained utterly transparent. Yet her composure faltered when she noticed Ivy serving tea. "Why are you here?" Madison blurted out instinctively. Ivy immediately knelt, mistaking this for disapproval of her lowly status. The commotion made Madison realize Emily's prolonged absence. Rising abruptly, she headed toward Emily's quarters, dismissing followers who assumed this was familial intimacy. A scream shattered the moment. A panicked maid stumbled in, stammering about snakes in Emily's room and her mistress' pained moans. John rallied servants to hunt reptiles while Madison abandoned decorum to save her birth mother. The crowd found Sophia barring Emily's door, claiming illness prevented visitors. I pushed forward, shouting, "If the snake's venomous, delaying could be fatal." Murmurs of agreement arose as Madison's guards prepared to break in. Sophia collapsed to her knees, blinking rapidly, a signal Madison recognized from palace intrigues. John berated Sophia's insolence while Madison hesitated, calling Emily's name. Thuds and fragmented sobs answered, thickening the air with unease. "Are you drunk, Sophia?" I challenged. "You'd risk mother's life with this charade?" I knew Emily had poisoned those pastries. Kevin had eaten 3 pieces, enough aphrodisiac to ensure scandalous exposure if doors opened now. Madison's glare silenced me, her attendant dragging me aside. She chastised my impertinence, unaware I'd gamble everything to destroy Emily tonight. Passive obedience meant worse retribution later. The real performance was just beginning. In front of everyone, I shouted in desperation, "Mother has always been kindest to me. Don't anyone dare stop me from saving her." I began wailing dramatically, breaking free from the maids to cling to John Wilson's legs. "Papa, I don't want Mama to die. She just gave me pastries today. If anything happens to her, who'll give me treats anymore?" My performance successfully swayed the crowd. People murmured praises about my filial piety while urging John to break down the door. Everyone assumed the matriarch had been bitten by a snake in some embarrassing location. Prioritizing modesty over survival. Even the physician played along, warning about venom spreading unless treated immediately. Seizing the moment, I innocently suggested catching the snake for its gallbladder. Though dismissing it as folk remedy, the physician ordered guards to surround the building, precisely what I wanted. That's when Sophia suddenly cried out, "Stop!" Kneeling before Madison, she whispered urgently, "Your Grace, please clear the area." The imperial concubine swiftly dismissed the crowd under pretext of privacy, nearly succeeding until I threw myself against the door. The impact revealed everything, gasps followed by a man's drunken growl, "Who dares interrupt? I'll have your heads for this." Crude remarks continued unabated, "Where you running, Auntie? Not done with you yet. Who knew you'd still ride so wild at your age?" John turned ashen. Madison's voice cracked with fury, "You useless fools. Clear this scandal now." Chaos erupted as spectators fled, though the damage was done. When guards finally stormed in, they dragged out Kevin, still half-conscious from aphrodisiacs, babbling obscenities. Ivy shielded my eyes, whispering, "Don't look, Rose. This filth isn't for children." Little did she know I'd witnessed worse in my past life. The cold water revival revealed Emily still dressing inside. John stormed past Madison's protests into the disheveled chamber, torn garments and love bites confirming every suspicion. My stepmother's reign was ending exactly as I'd orchestrated. The once dignified and elegant Lady Emily Johnson now stood disheveled, her composure shattered. John's eyes held no trace of former respect, only pure loathing. "You vile woman!" John roared, striking Emily across the face with such force that her lip split. Emily shoved away Sophia, who tried to assist her, crawling desperately toward John. It was Kevin who forced his way into my chambers and violated me. "I beg you to execute this beast." Her pleas echoed through the hall as she urged immediate execution, claiming Kevin had always been deranged and disrespectful of social boundaries. Madison, ever conscious of family reputation, joined in urging swift punishment. Enraged, John declared he'd drown both in the estate pond. Emily's panicked gaze darted between John and Madison until hope flickered in her eyes. She knew Madison's influence would protect her. Yet I understood better than anyone how to destroy her completely. Before Madison could speak, I knelt before John. "Father, we must investigate thoroughly. This was clearly a conspiracy against Mother Emily." I kicked the bound Kevin viciously. "Who put you up to this? You filth? Tell us now. Kevin's gagged mouth produced muffled protests. But his sober eyes betrayed newfound clarity. I needed only delay until the Brooks family arrived, then Emily's carefully constructed innocence would crumble. Rash action will make our house appear complicit. I pressed John. We must expose the true schemer to clear Mother Emily's name publicly. Emily shot me venomous looks. Desperate to silence Kevin permanently, John ordered the gag removed. His voice glacial. 2 years ago I banned your family from these grounds. Now you dare this atrocity? Kevin groveled, claiming some Wilson woman had lured him with letters. My pulse quickened as guards produced the damning evidence, stationery bearing Madison's distinctive handwriting and the telltale plum blossom seal. John wheeled on Ivy, the parchment crumpling in his fist. You're doing? Ivy trembled, bewildered yet terrified. My lord. I never. The forged letter fluttered to her feet, its flawless imitation of her script condemning her more effectively than any accusation. She shook her head vehemently, insisting the letter wasn't hers and she'd never interacted with Kevin. Across the room, Emily regained her composure despite lingering panic. Seizing the opportunity, the matriarch shifted all blame onto Ivy, claiming the woman from a humble merchant family conspired with Kevin to tarnish her reputation through underhanded tactics. Those merchant families always scheme in the shadows. Emily's accusations grew bolder as John's fury intensified. The patriarch suddenly gripped Ivy's throat, demanding whether she sought to destroy the Wilson family honor. Father. Ivy couldn't do this. I cried desperately when her face turned ashen. She's too frugal to afford such expensive stationery. Look, this ink matches Emily's special pine soot blend. My tear-streaked face tilted upward. Any skilled calligrapher could forge handwriting. You'd know this better than anyone. The observation gave John pause. Unlike the previous lifetime when adultery accusations left no room for scrutiny, he now examined the evidence properly. His grip loosened as I shielded Ivy. How could timid Ivy orchestrate this? Even if she tried, why would Kevin risk execution? My voice cracked. Someone powerful must be manipulating events. Kevin's family arrived then, equally desperate to save him. Under John's watchful eye, they pressed for details. Kevin described sneaking through Ivy's courtyard before reaching Emily's quarters, then hesitated. Wasn't it you who guided me here? He asked me suspiciously. I've never seen you before today. I denied firmly. The drug-addled man could only recall being led by a maid matching my height. My interrogation revealed his consumption of special pastries. Those were Emily's gifts, I exclaimed. Ivy rushed to kitchen duties without tasting any. You got all the poisoned treats. You lecher. John's gaze darkened as search parties found no pastries. The critical evidence vanished. Emily's smirk returned as she denounced Kevin's testimony. Lies to protect his whore accomplice, she declared, though uncertainty flickered in John's eyes. The imperial consort Madison also chimed in, declaring how noble Emily was, insisting such despicable acts could only come from someone of low birth like Ivy. Both women pressed relentlessly to force Ivy's confession about colluding with Kevin to frame Emily. Ivy vehemently denied everything, and Kevin claimed he'd been manipulated. When Madison demanded finger-press torture for Ivy, my heart nearly stopped. John coldly allowed it, citing the need for truth. Ivy's screams pierced the air until she collapsed unconscious. Just as servants prepared to douse her with water, Brian's son stepped forward holding the recovered pastries. Lord Wilson, Brian announced. We found the evidence. His son revealed he'd intercepted Emily's maid attempting to destroy the treats from Ivy's quarters. Our eyes briefly met. No one knew I'd secretly enlisted his help, remembering his kindness in my past life. Emily paled when confronted with her trembling maid. John's gaze hardened as he noted the maid's resemblance to me. Halting the torture, he turned to Kevin. Look carefully, who truly led you to Emily's chambers? Kevin instantly blamed the maid, seeking self-preservation. Madison tried interrupting, but John silenced her with a glare. "This is Wilson family business. You may return to the palace." Consort. Under Brian's interrogation, the maid confessed Emily's plot. The physician confirmed the pastries contained potent aphrodisiacs. Kevin wailed as the truth unraveled. The dosage meant to incriminate Ivy would have overwhelmed any adult. John's murderous stare shifted to Emily while Ivy lay motionless, her fragile form a silent accusation. The air thickened with betrayal, the elaborate scheme collapsing like house cards in monsoon winds. "Uncle, you've truly wronged me. Had I not eaten those 3 pastries, I'd never have dared act so recklessly." Kevin's family members joined in pleading his case. Lord John motioned for the house physician to examine Kevin, confirming whether he'd been under the influence of aphrodisiacs, which he naturally had. The Brooks clan begged for leniency based on family ties, promising to leave the capital forever after today. Seeing father's tight-lipped hesitation, I feared momentary kinship might spare this bastard. "The intoxication doesn't excuse invading our home. The moment you scaled that wall, you disrespected both father and Wilson Manor," I interjected forcefully. "Regardless of who orchestrated this, Kevin deserves no mercy. Spare him, and people will say the Wilsons coddle criminals." To my surprise, father asked my opinion on punishment. Glancing at the unconscious Ivy in my arms, I wiped my tears and met his gaze unflinchingly. 50 military-style cudgel strikes before final judgment. The room gasped. 30 blows could kill seasoned soldiers, let alone 50 on spoiled Kevin. I'd hoped father might reduce it to 20. But he shocked everyone by laughing approvingly. "Excellent. We'll follow Rose's suggestion." He summoned the bulliest guardsmen. Each whistling strike saturated the air with terror. Gagged Kevin's muffled screams turned to wet thuds as blood soaked his lower body within a dozen blows. His wailing family prostrated before father, who coldly declared, "His death preserves your clan. Beg further, and I'll execute you all." The Brooks family froze into terrified silence, clutching Ivy. I counted each brutal strike. When the 23rd blow splattered flesh onto nearby servants, retching sounds erupted. By strike 30, Kevin lay motionless with bleeding orifices, his pelvis pulped meat. Still the count continued. Ivy stirred awake, vomiting from the metallic stench. I begged father to have Brian examine her. His diagnosis brought unexpected joy. She carried a 2-month heir. Father's stern mask cracked as he ordered Brian to tend Lady Ivy's wounds and pregnancy with utmost care. I should have left with the others, but I stubbornly stayed. John asked why I kept interfering in today's matters. Meeting his gaze steadily, I answered, "Father, I only wanted to secure justice for Ivy initially. But when I realized today's accusations all targeted Ivy, I continued. I couldn't back down. She gave me life, I won't let her be framed." Though John only had 2 daughters, Rose and Madison, he showed no preference between legitimate and illegitimate offspring. The veteran commander valued capability above bloodlines. My boldness today, reckless as it was, carried the fearless spirit he admired. He beckoned me closer, permitting me to remain. My heart leaped. I'd witness Emily's execution firsthand. As predicted, John first dismissed Kevin's relatives, then cleared non-essential staff. When only trusted retainers remained, he had Brian produce signed confessions from Emily's maids. During Kevin's punishment, the household staff had been interrogated. Emily struggled futilely against the damning evidence. Even Madison dared not intervene after repeated warnings. Bloodied servants and written testimonies surrounded the disgraced matriarch, irrefutable proof she'd conspired to frame Ivy. John cut through Emily's pleas. "You reap what you've sown," he declared, tossing a silk cord at her feet. He offered posthumous honor, a ceremonial burial as Wilson family matriarch, if she hanged herself quietly. Emily laughed bitterly. "Years of service mean nothing?" Her venomous eyes found me. "This is your doing, you scheming brat." She screamed for Madison's aid. only for her daughter to urge compliance through tear-stained silk. I understood Madison's calculation, fear that Emily might expose her role in procuring the poisoned incense. "Mother," Madison sniffed. For the family's sake, she feigned illness and fled. John turned to me. "Still watching, Rose?" "I must," I replied. "Today's lesson applies to me too. As a Wilson daughter destined for marriage alliances. I'll remember this when governing my future household." His approving smile returned before addressing Brian with glacial finality. "Do it." Since Emily Johnson refused to go quietly, John Wilson granted her an honorable exit. Even as hands tightened around her throat from behind, she thrashed and screamed. She cursed John's heartlessness, denounced Madison for abandoning maternal bonds, and spewed venomous wishes that Ivy's unborn child would perish along with her snake-spawned daughter. Her final curses died with her snapped neck, those wide dead eyes frozen in fury. The grotesque spectacle should have horrified me, yet bitter laughter bubbled in my chest. After the day's carnage, the Wilson estate became a sea of morning white. Emily lay cold. Kevin Brooks silenced forever. Every loyal servant in the Johnson faction eradicated. John and Madison crafted their tail assassins infiltrated during the imperial visit. Noble matriarch martyred protecting her daughter. Even Kevin's death became valiant struggle against blades. Poisoned pastries? Forbidden affairs? Mere phantoms now. The Wilson name emerged untarnished. Every witness too terrified to whisper truths. John had warned the emperor that assassins might hide among relatives or retainers, vowing to purge them within a month. Any loose tongue would join the conspirators in the imperial dungeons. When Ivy learned I'd orchestrated this bloodbath, her face drained to parchment. I clasped her trembling hands. "You'll birth this child safely, Mother. Boy or girl, they'll thrive. Our fortunes are rising, soon everything in this estate will kneel before you." She called it madness, murmuring prayers for our safety. Foolish woman. Safety only comes when every enemy's throat is slit. 6 months later, I presented John with a brilliant protégé from the Brooks line. We groomed her meticulously. The emperor claimed her as concubine within weeks, while Madison wasted herself on petty harem squabbles. Our new Rose bloomed from noble lady to consort, then cradling a prince while Madison's failed assassination attempt earned her exile to the cold palace. John traded military merits for one last audience. Hours after he left the derelict chambers, guards found Madison hanged. My dear half-sister died never knowing whose words condemned her. I'd whispered truths to John that Madison's filial piety would fester into vengeance against him. Against Ivy. Against our unborn heir. Letting her live risked the Wilson legacy. When the funeral bells tolled for Madison, John elevated Ivy to equal wife. Our Brooks faction courtier whispered in the emperor's ear until my brother became official heir. Years later, as John's coffin sank into earth, my brother assumed the Wilson title while Ivy reigned as matriarch. Yet she still defers to me in all matters. This woman who birthed me, Mother. I smile through her anxious fussing. The true feast is just beginning. Even when my younger brother got married, Ivy wanted me to make the decision. My brother also showed me great respect. He heard Ivy mention past events and knew that without me that day, he would never have had the chance to be born. He vowed to protect Ivy and me with his life forever.